there's this collective group right now with humanity and society really changing from that keeping up with the Joneses versus what really makes me happy. What do I really want my life to look like? Where do I really want to show up?
Hi, I'm Dave Tina.
And I'm Angie Tina.
Welcome to the 10-Year Marriage Podcast.
On this podcast, we answer the question, what if your marriage came with a 10-year contract?
How would you show up if there was a deadline in your relationship? What would your life look like in the future? And how would you recommit every day?
Come with us on this journey as we navigate as partners, entrepreneurs, and parents in this big life we've created.
The idea is marriage identity. What is the identity of your marriage? And how this came up for me is the journey I've been going on my own, the journey you and I have been going on. And it started with, this whole business transition. It really isn't about the business that we have and the transition that we've done. It's about exposing how much of our identity was tied to it, tied to growth and making money and career and
real estate
and the version of having it all that we thought we wanted in the past, but kind of knew it wasn't, that we resisted for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? So some of the things we've talked about on this podcast that I think we've been almost defiantly protective of is some of these material things, right? Like me getting a Lamborghini, you doing the makeover, spending a lot of money on these things, and kind of coming from a position of like, we're worth it. Right?
Yep.
And when people question it or try to be like, well, why would you do that? Or, with that underlying, like, must be nice to be able to spend that kind of money on things versus do you think you're better than us versus is that the Dave and Angie we've always known and love and is a projection?
And also, is that the Dave and Angie we want to be, right? Sometimes it takes trying these things on and trying new things and experiencing these things to even decide if it's what we want our identity to become or not.
100%, right? And identity is an interesting game because to an extent you are who you are. But also, you do not have to be limited by some of the things that you've always thought you are.
Yep.
Right? And so I've been reading a lot of books and I've been like experiencing some of these different things and trying not to have the influence of others' opinions have too much of a sway on how I look at my own identity. Even like when people talk about brand, right? I hate when they're like, you're a brand. It's just so like commercializes
Yeah,
it.
you're like,
right?
no, I'm not. I'm a soul being.
But 100%. But if you think about it, the actual word or the saying is not just brand, it's brand identity.
Yeah. Right. And how you want to be perceived.
Exactly.
Right.
And so this is where the challenge really comes into for me. Do you want to be a brand or an identity that is not in alignment with yourself? Or are you trying to embody an identity that has always been there and truly is your soul, but because of all the outside influence, you have lost the way of that true identity?
Yeah. And I think that it goes to so many levels because I think that people like cohesively and I think they're going through an identity crisis, right? Well, at least the algorithm we're on, right? The people are searching for more. They're wanting to change careers or how they show up in their careers.
Where they live, the relationship that they're in.
Yes, their families, the school system. Like there's so many things being challenged, so many identities being challenged right now that, for us, it's a constant, like I think we've always done it. And I always have this saying, every 6 months our life is going to be completely different. And I think that's because one of our strongest identities as a married couple is that we change and we grow and we evolve. And so we just constantly do that, right? Because that's an identity that we've had since we met. Like we started going to Tony Robbins and seminars right off the bat when we were dating. And I think that there's this collective group right now with humanity and society really changing from that, like keeping up with the Joneses versus what really makes me happy. What do I really want my life to look like? Where do I really want to show up?
You were listening to a podcast the other day, and you said this, what came up on the podcast, and I wrote it down. Even the Joneses can't keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah. No, it was a song. It's a Kelsey Ballerini song. Yeah. And so she was singing. It was basically, it's like she's so grateful for what she has, right? And that she's tried on all these things, right? She's now a famous singer and she's a celebrity.
Talk about
and
identity crisis when you become
famous.
but keep going.
Well,
Yeah.
and then that was just such an interesting part of the story as I was like, holy shit.
Some people, if you're talking about a marriage identity, because we're going to get into how I came up with this, right? So with health identity, so we'll talk about that, talk about how that identity shifts.
Yeah, your individual identities versus your marriage couple identity.
100%. Your marriage identity, some people have said in the past to us, like whether it's a compliment or a dig, like you guys are addicted to chaos.
Yeah.
Right? Or you're just addicted to growth, or you never slowed down. Right? And there's a little bit of truth in like we are seekers.
Yep.
Right? And that's what leads us to what this life we live. But in the other one, it's like it's vindicating or exposes what other people are unwilling to do. Right? And so I do believe that most people want to take risk, want to try new things, do have a calling, aren't living in their true self. They have a self-image that isn't aligned with their soul. And they're so stuck in the box, in the matrix, in their identity that it becomes a prison. And in order for their prison to be comfortable, they have to reject the things that challenge it. And you and I would be things that challenge it.
Yeah.
And there's people that go faster than us.
Oh, yeah.
But what were you going to say?
And we're like, oh my God, they're addicted to chaos, right? And that's how people look at us.
Yeah, totally. Like your friend Sonia was like, they went to Amsterdam on a whim, right? Or something like that. And I'm
like a getaway, like a completely, and I'm like, wow, that would take us a long time to plan. But back to your original point, Joe Dispenza, I've been listening to him a ton lately, and he talks so much about identity, right? And he's like, people wake up and they do the same routine. They brush their teeth the same way. They do their morning routine. They drink their coffee the same way. And they're expecting a different result. They're expecting a different identity to show up. But you're living in that past frequency. You're living in that old identity. So there's no shift there, right? You can think all day long that you want these things or you want to become this other person. But until you change the language and the frequency around it, nothing's going to actually change. In the environment, exactly. And so that's why we're
So what about this challenging question? I mean, this is kind of like a loaded question because I have my own answer on it. But what if someone was like, I love where I'm at. I'm embodying everything. Why do I need to change or evolve? Like, what's the answer to that?
Funny you say that. I listened to another podcast this
Wow,
morning.
you've been podcast
I know.
like little hooker lately.
Before we even started a podcast, I don't think I ever listened to a podcast.
Really?
Yeah. And then once we started a podcast, I was like, oh, this is interesting. We should listen to one.
Well, it's supposed to expand how you look at things, right?
Well,
like
100%. Yeah. And so it was Jenna Zoe or something. Okay. Anyways, it's a podcast, Align. And she talks about that. And she talks about how there's this information overload in spirituality and in growth and human design right now, right? So it's almost getting
hijacked. It's becoming cool. I actually shared something about that where they do a spoof. I don't know if you've seen it, where they're like messing with each other.
Oh yeah.
Like, I bet your name is Moon.
Yeah,
right.
They're roasting each other.
Exactly,
yeah,
because it's become so mainstream.
Well, and there's so much information, right?
Yeah.
And so her whole podcast today, it was 20 minutes, and it was like, the real challenge is to sit with the feelings, sit in silence with the feelings, not get on another podcast, not learn about all these other modalities and all these other secret, voodoo things that you can do. But if something comes up for you, to sit with it and see what's revealed, right? That's why meditation is so important, because it's like this calming, this quieting of the mind, and then things can actually come forward. And so I think that if people are living that and they feel very aligned and they feel like comfortable, like, that's great. And I think that there's still growth and like evolution there. And the reason I know that is because I used to not be able to sit and to just read a book or to relax on a beach or to be home. Like, I used to get FOMO every time. And like, for me, the slowing down was an evolution, was actual growth. And most people would be like, what do you mean? That's not capacity building. Well, for me, it was, because I was so used to the chaos. I was so used to the constantly doing things that when I slowed down, it was challenging for me. And I had to really actually try to be like, no, I can sit on a beach and not do anything. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the challenging of the self-image, right? And so
Yeah.
that's a great answer because, Doug Grant, my health coach, and we're going to talk about him a little bit. He likes to say a body in motion stays in motion, right? So even if you are embodying this sacred peace or this sacred presence, that still has to go and stay in motion. It's still an active, actual choice, and it's an activity. Like there's so much outside influence always challenging that. Like I'm reading so many
noise.
different books about this right now, from cybergenetics to Bhagavad Gita to all of these things talking about this embodying your presence, but it is a slowing down because, we've become a society, and we've done this wrong, I believe, me and you particularly, that fast and more equals success, where someone who does speak more slowly, someone who does speak with more certainty, someone who doesn't lose their cool is actually
more powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not from forceful power, but like from spiritual power, right? Like a glowing beacon of power and inviting power. And it's funny because even the way I've described it in the past has been like the Godfather way of doing it. Because in the movie The Godfather, he doesn't lose his temper. He isn't like out of control. He is super scary because he is so in control. Even when he sends his consigliere out to do something and he's eating and he's getting bad news and the guy that he's talking to is losing his mind, he's like, I'm going to have to leave right now, Mr. Corleone likes to receive his bad news in person. Like it's so controlled in a way, and it's a bad example because it's obviously around the mafia and things like that. But we have lost our way.
Yeah.
It's the curse of more. So that identity shift is a very challenging thing to look at. And this is what we're here to talk about is how it affects your marriage, your marriage identity. We, in the past, we talked about the first part of this 10-year marriage. And the first part, really, there's like a
10-year marriage, like method.
The method.
Yes.
There's 3 parts, but there's like a prequel to it. The prequel is the awakening, the actual like aha moment, the window. If you come across this podcast or something and you're like, wow, things have to change, or maybe there's more. That's just the first thing.
Yeah, just opening the gate.
Beautiful way of putting it. That's the requirement to enter the door. Because if you're either ignorant towards it or completely buried, this isn't going to hit for you.
Right.
Right? The walls are up. So the first part is like, okay, I've awakened. Now I have to question everything. Right? Now I have to start stripping away. It doesn't work. Like I have to start like opening this up. And so what we talked about is the second part is like the what's possible. And the kind of stripping down in what's possible happens almost concurrently. But if you try to build it up,
yeah, just on the old layers.
It's like building it on the same foundation of a house that no longer fits, or building on the same frame of a vehicle that isn't going to hold this new vehicle. This foundation is not going to hold this new house. Maybe it's the same foundation with reinforcements. Maybe you have to fix the foundation. Maybe you have to expand the foundation. But like, we're going to start clearing out rooms and knocking down walls. We better have an idea, right? Like what we're building. Because if we just start building on top of this, it becomes a house of cards. And so the reason why this marriage identity is so important, at least to me, is you got to be very careful that you don't just choose a new destination and build it on the same programming and patterns you've done of the past because you just replaced one bullshit thing for another.
Yeah.
And so how do we get to that point where like, it's easy to be like, what's your marriage identity? But if you're coming from a position of Dave has always been like this, Angie has always been like this, we're going to try to fit this new marriage identity together with our old versions of how we look at ourselves. We're just going to get the same marriage with a different theme. Like whether it's in a different state, whether it's a different job, whether it's still going to be the same thing, just a different cover to the book.
Yep. Well, and one of the best exercises I think that people can try, which we do all the time, even with our kids, right? Which you have this exercise or idea or this practice where you say, if you were to wake up in the morning with no preconceived notion of who you were, what your name was, what your life
I got this from
like.
Matt Hussey. And it was, if you woke up from amnesia.
Yeah.
And you woke up in your body.
Yep.
And you didn't have any of the limitations of the past. Like, it's just kind of bad and good because you didn't have maybe you're just taking forward the remembering of the good things. Right.
But at that point, you've already stripped away all those other things,
yes.
right? Because you have nothing, you have no knowledge of those things.
This is my wife. These are my kids. This is my bank account.
Yes.
This is my career. This is my body. All right. It's almost like a quantum leapt into this life.
Exactly.
And what would you be grateful for? What would you do?
Exactly. And then I think it's a big question of what is my identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the point of like, what roles do I want to play now that I'm in this life? What do I want to spend my time doing? Who do I want to be, right? Because it's easy. Like if you can really visualize that and you can sit with that for a moment, like, and you wake up and let's just say you've never worked out, you've never been a person that's been active, and you all of a sudden are like, I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, athletes are going to react differently and live differently than a non-athlete, right? And so like now that has become your identity. Like when I get into the mode of like, I'm a reader, I'm like in it. And I'm like, I feel like the time I spend reading is valuable time. When I'm in the mindset of like, I'm not a reader and I got better things to do, it's like, I can't even finish a chapter because I'm like, my thoughts are somewhere else. Like it's truly stripping away those things to then how do you show up in your own identity? And then the best part is like, how do you do it together?
Yes. All right. So I'm glad I let you finish that thought because I didn't know where you're going with it because that matters too.
Yeah.
So this goes back to, and I just thought of this, the 3 questions. It always goes back to the 3 questions, right? So it's, who am I? What do I want?
Yep.
And it was, what am I willing to sacrifice? But I don't believe in that anymore. It's not even like what I was willing to become. It's like, how do I have to return home almost, right? But I always focus on the part of what do I want?
Yep.
And the question that I don't spend enough time on is who am I?
Mm-hmm.
You see, because what happens is I look at it as like a J curve. And a J curve is this, it's also called a growth curve, is you start like, let's say on the first step of stairwell and you want to get to the 10th step. And everyone thinks you just go up step by step by step. You go step 2, step 3, step 4, almost like an elevator.
Mm-hmm.
Where really you got to go down first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then come up. That's why it's shaped like a J.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way I've always explained this is, what do I want is that 10th step.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I is the person you begin at, your current state. And the what do I want is just to get you in motion.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to get you to grow.
To inspire you to move.
Exactly. All of the transformation happens inside of the deepest part of the J curve. So that's why people are like, it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's right. What I had to go through to, and
change occurs in the darkness, all of those things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
The irony though of this game is when you get to the top, the who am I has changed.
Right.
Because
you're at a new identity.
You got a new identity. And then what happens again? You do it again. And so over and over and over again, it's this, who am I? So the practice that I usually do when I'm teaching this is I'll bring up this book or this theory, the alter ego effect, and I'll mention how famous people had to create these alter egos that were potentially who they were all along, right? So like a really famous one is Beyonce and Sasha Fierce, right? And she had to become Sasha Fierce in order to be able to perform and do it. She had to have an identity shift to do it.
Yep.
Now, here's where I don't think I went deep enough. Did she become Sasha Fierce because that was what required and that gives her all the money and the notoriety, and lose Beyonce along the way? Or is the actual enlightened state the integration between Sasha Fierce and Beyonce?
Mm-hmm.
Because
or was Beyonce, or was it Sasha Fierce all along, and she became Beyonce because of all the stories and the programs and the patterns that she had to grow up to and become, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so it matters so much of being clear that why you want the things you want, what you have to go through to figure it out, and who you become is in alignment with who you are. Or you may get some results because you followed somebody else's protocol and blueprint, right? And you got the thing you wanted. You changed into the person you wanted to change into. You thought it was a return home, and you're either further away from where you began in the first place, or you learned. I don't think there's anything bad about learning. But now what I'm looking at it is I'm really questioning, who am I identity-wise soul?
Mm-hmm.
What is possible? And then am I influenced by other things, and how much so? For instance, am I influenced by the fact that having a nice car is what everyone else sees, right? And so when we're looking at our marriage, right, you have to really look at it and be like, who has a marriage we want, right? And then that's step one. Modeling is step one. But even if you're modeling, you may be modeling people that you think have the best marriage in the world.
Yeah,
And if
and
you
you don't know
went
what's
behind
under-
closed
yeah.
doors, it's the marriage you would never want. And you're like, oh shit, I modeled my entire game over this.
Yep.
This is what I want. This is who I have to become in the marriage. This is what I went through to get there. And I got there and I'm like, oh my God. And you find out too late, that wasn't the answer in the first place.
Yeah. That's why roles are so interesting in a marriage, is because, you know, we've gone through this progression through generations of what roles women and men in traditional marriages hold. And so we've gone through this evolution, and it's funny because we literally just said you said something yesterday that what's coming back, what did you call it?
So I actually learned it from this guy over here. Trad wives, traditional wives.
Okay. Traditional wives. So interestingly enough, we're just having a conversation in front of Ella, and Ella's like, oh, that sounds amazing. And I was like, well, there are probably parts to it that sound amazing until you started coming up with all the reasons why it may not be amazing.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
if women have no rights and you can't get out of a marriage,
Or if your husband beats you,
there's
or, there's
like,
all the things.
There's the whole reason why the feminist movement came in the first place.
Right.
But we lost all the good things about the trad wife movement.
Yeah.
We got a lot of great things about women's rights. And the answer, this is why I am calling, or I've called my own movement Unlimited, because I'm like, an unlimited mindset around this, or identity, unlimited identity,
Yeah.
is having both, the best of both.
And being able to change it, right? Like, we've gone through this process of our own marriage.
And without being pigeonholed by it.
Right.
Because there's a point in our relationship, and we're going to get into this. If I said to you, I want to get to a point where you never have to work again. And your passions, if they bear fruit of money, great. And if they don't care.
Yep.
There's a lot of women that are watching this or listening to this that would be like, hell no.
Yeah. And I'm like, hell yes. Because if I want to work, I know you would support me working, but I'm like, let's do it.
That hasn't always been you, though.
Oh, totally. Well, and that's what I was trying to say is, like, throughout our marriage, I mean, I got married. I was 23 when we got married, but I was young, right? And at that point, I was like a hustler. I was working. I was doing all these things. And I had to go through this whole shift of like, well, I want to take care of my kid. And then when I was at home all the time, I was like, oh, this sucks. Like, I don't want to just be at home. And then we were, and then it was like, do we get a nanny? And I don't want somebody else raising my kids. And it was this constant evolution.
Your purpose.
Yeah.
Your purpose was around, your self-worth was around producing money.
Money and the hustle.
Yeah, which is kind of a thing that happens in your 20s and your 30s.
Yeah.
right?
Or in America in general.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a cost.
Yep.
It was a cost. I remember like when Lola was born in 2013 and we had 2 kids that were under 18 months, like an 18-month-old and a brand new baby and a brand new business and bills and owing everyone money. I went into such overdrive mode. I'm a person that remembers like every moment of my life, how I was feeling, what I weighed, like things that are going on in the world. Like I have this incredibly like specific memory, almost to the point I think I'm on the spectrum or there's like a way to say it because I remember everything, right? I don't remember anything from that 12 months. Like it's almost like it didn't, like I was so laser focused. And I have so much guilt and regret over that year because I feel like that was one of the harder years of our marriage. I feel like I missed out on a year of Lola's really important
Infancy.
times.
Mm-hmm.
And so we missed out on something important.
Right.
But back to the image, your self-image, self-worth, and purpose was around, I am not going to be this woman who just watches from the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And this has evolved.
Right. And it has evolved throughout the entire time. Right. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the 10-year marriage method is that once you strip those things away, it's like, what could be possible? Like we've talked about it in other episodes where it's like, I still look at you and I'm like, the best years are yet to come because I feel like I haven't even tapped into that sex goddess that I am. And like all these things that like, I can just decide that that's my identity and become that. Right.
Yeah. And that's really what the crux of what we're talking about. And so in a lot of these things that I'm testing and reading is we get so much into our patterns that we get an image that it's tough to break out of. And in one of the books I'm reading, that's Psycho-Cybernetics, it's called the snapback theory. And like, if you don't go the whole way on this self-image change, you will just go back to where you were. Meaning like if you lose 30 pounds, great, you lost the 30 pounds, but you didn't go far enough and change your self-image to the point where you're not going to gain it back. You could go on a great, 3-month run of like date nights and, great sex and really connection and things like that. But if you don't really anchor it and lock it in, it goes right back to the marriage.
Yeah.
Same thing with business. You could have great runs of money and you go right back to struggling to have consistency.
Now, do you think, because I feel like I know my answer, but when you get a glimpse of that, right, you tap into that like new identity, you tap into those new roles or that new life, and then you snap back, right? Because I agree. Like once you start doing the same things, you snap back. And we have this conversation all the time, like with our family patterns or whatever, like we're just going back to the same things. But it's almost for me, I get the snapback when that occurs, I get resentful, I get upset, I get angry, right? Because I'm like, I had a glimpse of it, I was there, right? And now I'm back here, and it reminds me of this.
So let me tell you though, where you are absolutely breaking that.
What?
The horses.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like you've, in a lot of things, you used the word dabbler recently, and I don't think that's fair. You like to try a lot of new things. And with this, you have been, I think I gave you the compliment the other day. I was like.
That was one of the best compliments you've ever given me, by the way.
What was exactly how I said it?
We went to a reining competition and we were walking through and you were like, there are very little, you've like, I've been around horse people my whole life. And there's very few people that are as committed as you are to spending time and caring for these horses. And like, I was like, that makes me so happy because I feel like
you've changed your identity.
100%. And you almost have to with horses. Like that's one of the beauty things, right? Like I would come home and I would be like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do this. And you'd be like, what do you mean you can't do this? Like, of course you can do this. It's your confidence. It has nothing to do with the horse or how they're reacting to you or anything like that. And I literally had to go and be like, no, I'm a horse girl. Like this is what I do. I'm a horseman. Yeah. You know what I mean? And now when I go out, like even we're leaving tonight to go finish our equine therapy in Portland. And like, I feel confident around any horse where I'm like, I could lead any horse or I could be around any horse because I've changed my identity around that.
So you've been doing this long enough now. I would say there's different studies around how long it takes. It's pretty much a year. Like for instance, when I lost 75 pounds, I thought I had it. Like it took such a huge freak out for me to lose it But I was like, I got this down pat. Like
Yeah.
my identity had changed. That's why I get so mad.
Right.
Right.
Because the snapback made you even
Oh my God.
more pissed.
And
right?
like I did it without Ozempic or any bullshit. I did it the right, like not to shit on anybody else, but I did it the way that is sustainable. Like one of the things about the GLPs and the Ozempics and the Wegovys and whatever, they're working, but are people actually changing their identity along the way? If they get off of it, have they changed their identity enough
Yeah, their habits.
to continue it on?
Mm-hmm.
And so that is like when you start going, okay, I either trust myself or I don't. I have this self-image, this identity attached to validation and self-worth, all of these different things. Even when I get glimpses of like knowing what the right path is and what these limitations are, these limiting beliefs, we still sabotage and undermine ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like even while reading the book, I didn't even consciously do this. This is why it's so important what you consume. I'm reading this book that I was telling you about, and you were making a cauliflower, I don't know, frozen pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Normally,
they're the best, by the way.
You are a pizza.
Austin loves them too.
Pizza whore.
Yes.
My wife will eat pizza anyway. She'll order it in the worst places to order pizza.
Yeah.
It does not matter. She is like, it's like that part in Wedding Crashers. You're like, weddings, they're like pizza. You can't have anything bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. There's no such thing as bad pizza, which there is. But anyway, I'm sitting on the couch, you're showering, and I hear a beep. And I'm literally reading about how you have to look at yourself differently. Now, I have this theory, like, I hate to cook. I'm not good at it. I don't even want to go near an oven or a stove, right?
Yeah, I am not a cook. Yes.
I am not a cook.
Yep.
That is one of my self-images, right? So I hear this beep. I'm like, what is beeping? Like, I thought the fridge was open. And I look, and the stove had preheated to 425. Now, I'm a 47-year-old intelligent man. It's not like I shouldn't know. I should be able to figure this out.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have such a, like, I was raised by my dad. He didn't cook. We were super busy.
You owned a restaurant.
My dad was a partner in a restaurant, and I lived like half a mile from it. In college, I had roommates who cooked. Like, I just outsourced the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's amazing I made it this long in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I could put together some eggs, whatever, right? So anyway, it beeps. I look at it. It's at 425. I'm like, all right, well, she's not going to be out. I'm hungry. We're going to have this thing. And I'm always like, I really shouldn't bitch about the way you cook, because if I don't cook, then you don't have a say. So I read the box. I'm like, all right, it's 425. I put it in. I'm like, well, this must be the middle thing, right? The middle rack. And it goes. It always annoys me that you don't put the timer on, and it's either like overcooked or undercooked. And
it's perfectly cooked
bullshit.
Every time.
And so I actually figure out how to put the timer on, and I put the light on so I could look at it, and I'm like just doing it. I didn't have a conscious thought that I'm not a cook, and because I read the book, I'm going to go do this right now. Mm-hmm. I just did it. It's almost like a subliminally hit. And I started thinking about it as this episode was coming up, and I knew we were going to talk about marriage identity. And I was like, I should be someone who loves to cook, because my buddy owns a restaurant in our building. I'm always looking at the ingredients. This would make it better. Like, I'm actually into it. And when I doctor stuff up, it tastes fantastic. Like, I have like that artistic.
The natural, yeah.
Like, I should be an Anthony Bourdain. Exactly. And I was like, what if our marriage identity, it's like you saying you're going to par a course by watching Tiger Woods golf one time, right?
Yeah.
But what if that self-image has gotten so much in the way of me being like,
yeah,
at 47, I just decided to
never cook,
become a cook.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. And that's why it's so important, even like your environment and your relationships, like they can affect those decisions. Like when we moved into this house, like, wait a minute, do I like cooking? I'm not sure, because I felt more comfortable in the environment and I wanted to be home. And I was like, I'd rather be here than at a restaurant. So for me, it became more enjoyable. And like the most simple things, like I bought an apron when we were in Nashville. And when I put on the apron, I'm like, ooh, I am a cook, right? Like it's like these simple little things, these simple little tweaks that start shaping that identity.
This is a great metaphor, and it may seem like a simple one, but like I can't even imagine being a cook, just like you couldn't imagine being in a horses,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so then you start going, okay, if everything is on the table, things that I would never even consider.
Yep.
Now the identity of the marriage could be completely different, and it has an unlimited possibility towards it. It is very different and new,
Yep.
but it will challenge people, especially if you're not on the same page. Because if we weren't having this conversation and all of a sudden I just started showing up cooking, you'd be like, what the hell is going on?
Well,
If I,
most marriages would
all right,
probably
what if I
appreciate
jumped into the bed sexually and started having sex or doing the things we do completely different? No, that you could potentially be like, where did he learn this? Is he cheating on me? Is he doing something?
You would think that. I would not think that.
If you just
would
became a
think that.
sex goddess overnight, I'd be like, what the hell happened?
Yeah,
right?
who's teaching her all these tricks?
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
is she watching porn? Like, how is she figuring this out? So that is where it's like, we got to be careful that we are not just building a new prison
Yeah.
with a different decoration on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it's even more important to just have the conversation with your significant other and make sure that you guys are aligned on, like, you know, if that is something, like I went and got those sexy pics for you, right? And after that, like I've kind of snapped back into my old patterns.
Yep.
But after that, I was much more confident and much more like free in bed and like doing all the things. And
Which is interesting because if I look at those pictures on my phone,
yeah,
I don't see you.
interesting. Who do you see?
I see a different version. I don't think those two women are aligned.
Oh.
And in the moment,
So I need to work on my identity to get more aligned with that person because that person felt amazing. Yes.
Exactly. Like in that, it's a sexually confident, vulnerable, like crossing the chasm of what's possible for us.
And the woman in those pictures didn't have all the bullshit identities that associated to sex, right?
Exactly.
Or like
the things in the past that may have affected you and whatnot, we don't have to get into, right? So that's the thing. And then it plays out in infinite ways.
Mm-hmm.
That you almost have to be like, okay, we have just like brain dumped and mind mapped and brainstormed this whole thing. Let's choose just a couple rather than trying to rebuild a completely different house.
Yep.
Because that is overwhelming as well.
Totally.
Because you go from having a house and you have some norms to like, oh my God, we're living, you know, in a shack and laying on, you know, cots because we didn't rebuild this stuff. And so what would just a couple things off of the top of your head would you change about our marriage identity? Because we've talked about the majority of our episodes have been around like, here's how we've changed spiritually. Here's what we believe about the education system. Here's how we believe about our health. Here's how we believe about our careers, right? And we talk about like our current situation and what we would like to, or how it falls short, the options.
Right.
Right. And we execute some of those changes, but obviously we haven't executed them all. Do we go on date nights? How we travel? Like we've talked about all of these things.
Yeah. And we've dabbled in most of them, right? Like,
yes.
But I think for me, it is
like what season? Like what would you focus on?
Intimacy is always a part of the game, right? So like we talked about this morning, like me being more vulnerable, us trying new things, like even going to like seminars, like sex seminars and just trying new stuff, right? Like all the different stuff. I think that would be interesting.
Me getting a vasectomy would really
be wonderful.
Help this whole game. So
and
I'm
then
not
the other
trying
part
to balance like 10 things at once.
Yeah. The other part that I think is important for me, and we've definitely done, and I can see that it brings you joy too, is really like spending time together on the farm with the horses, in nature, hiking, like connecting on that level. And in return that we become more active just by doing that.
Yeah, because date nights have been an issue, not just because I haven't planned them enough, but because you don't really want to do a lot of the things that most people do on date nights.
Yeah.
Like, you have zero desire to go have this big meal and be in a restaurant.
I feel like shit after I
or
eat.
Drink.
And I don't drink. Yeah. It's like, it's fun. And then we eat and
you don't like go to the movies. That's not your jam.
We went to a restaurant where I was so excited to go to the sushi restaurant, and I'm pretty sure we were in and out in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that was a great date night.
So these are some experiences.
Yeah.
I agree. I think there's pockets of time This is why when we had the house in Coeur d'Alene, even though it really only worked for us in the summers, and it was so much pressure to justify the house, just to use it 30 to 60 days.
Yeah.
And not be able to really go on any other vacations because we had to justify those 60 days. But Coeur d'Alene really opened up what's possible for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
You cooked a lot more. We were physically intimate. The presence alone. Our kids were outside so much on the scooters playing. You know, had people visiting. Like even when they visited, at first we had this performance game of like, what are we going to do with these people?
Right. We got to go on a boat, or we got to do this, or we got to do that.
Fill up every moment. Like there was pressure.
Yep.
Then it just kind of settled into just hanging out.
Yeah.
Just connecting.
Start a fire and have a conversation.
Exactly.
And that is one of the things like I want to do more. Like I want to do things like I want to.
But that was an identity we took on.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Mm-hmm. And even though we got rid of the house, we were like, we can't lose this. And in our container here, we lost it almost instantly. And so this is where like, am my identity, and this is really an interesting filter game because you can go down the rabbit hole with this. Even this morning, you weren't here. You were with the horses and I had to get the girls ready. I almost fell into the trap of freaking out going, we're going to be late. Everyone move. And I caught myself. I was like, who cares? I don't want to ruin the vibe of this place because I have to get them there on time for someone else's rules.
Yeah.
Like I literally just let go in the moment. I'm like, and there's a, you know, when me and Gigi were getting ready, and then she wanted to wear her
horse jacket,
her horse cardigan in 105-degree weather.
Yeah.
I started battling her and I said, why do I care if she wants to wear this thing?
Yeah.
Like, and that's a different identity and a different reaction and presence. And so, you know, I could put it like this if people aren't tracking, because there's a lot of ways you can go with this. So one of the reason I came up with this, not just the identity shift that we're going through as a marriage, a family, individually. When I hired Doug Grant to be my health coach, one of the first things he was like, I want you to create a health identity. I want you to have a visualization of how you look, who would that person. I came up with King Leonidas. Then I shifted it a little bit to like JJ Watt's body. You know what I mean? Like I started morphing into these like, but it was more than just this like ripped guy. It was more of like, who does he represent? And so that identity gave me a visualization, a model. But then of course, because God forbid I could just stop there. I said to him, I said, you know, I really feel like I have 3 goals. One is to be healthy. Like healthy blood work numbers, things like that. 2 is to feel healthy, feel strong, feel good. So second was like an overall energetic feeling. And the third was appearance. I want to look great.
Yep.
Right? And for various reasons, in the past, my prioritization went opposite. It was, I don't even know if it was opposite. It was just, I wanted to lose weight or do things only to look good.
Yep.
I don't give a shit about any of the other stuff. I mean, the trades I would do to just be in the tip-top shape, to attract another attractive woman, to look a certain way, to feel validated by the external world. It was just that. To the point, even if I didn't feel good or even if it made me unhealthy, I was willing to do it.
Right.
And overcorrection would be like, I don't care how I look. I don't care how I feel, as long as the numbers are the numbers.
Right.
Right. Now it's integrated, unlimited. I want all 3. My number one priority is to live a healthy, long time. I want to do that feeling great the entire time. And the byproduct of it is looking great. Right?
Yeah.
That is an identity shift. That is doing things for the right reason, or at least my sole reason. People do this with money. I just want to be rich. I don't want to have any money problems, right? Great. And if they are doing dirty things, or they're working too long, or they're sacrificing their relationships, or they're sacrificing their mental or physical health in order to get the money, they find out along the way, wait a minute, the true wealth is freedom. How can I live my purpose? And then the byproduct is money. which then is just feeding the things that are most important: my purpose, my passion, my impact, and things I love to do.
Yep.
Same thing with life and with marriage, right? Or relationships. If your only goal is to be loved and be with another human being,
Yeah, and you're willing to sacrifice your own dreams and goals and ideas.
you lose your identity, your image, your the whole game along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why, like, when you start thinking about marriage identity, this game has to be so much bigger. That's why with a 10-year marriage of like, what does the next 5 years look like? It has to transcend. It can't just be, I want to be married.
Right. Right.
Because then you're going to build the whole thing around, I have to compromise everything in order just to show up married in 5 years.
And it also is like, you know, the identity shifts that you're talking about. Like, I think when you're bringing it into marriage, like, how do you have to show up for yourself and constantly? I mean, that's the whole concept. This is all it is a concept of the 10-year marriage, right? It's like, how are you showing up as an individual to be aligned as a couple to continue to grow and evolve and show up for each other, right?
So it
just keeps coming back to that.
Here's a crazy takeaway right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's super interesting. When you ask people what kind of husband or wife they want,
Mm-hmm.
they would say, I want someone who's 6'2" and he cooks and he has a great job and he reads, and they start building.
Right.
Right?
Their ideal person.
Yes. You know, you rarely hear,
Hmm.
I want to be in a relationship where I want to feel this way.
Right.
I want to be able to pursue my dreams. I want to be, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, they're rarely envisioning who they are.
Right. Or how they will feel or how they will show up.
Exactly.
Yep. And that's really what it comes down to.
I think it's a huge eye-opening thing.
Yeah.
Because I could be like, in 5 years, I want this like intimate, sexual, cooking, living or pet. It's impossible for me to play that game. I don't know what you're going to become.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that. I could just look at it and go, this is the 5 years I'm at. This is the identity that I want to show up on, and then have faith through conversations and shared vision that we are going to be going in the direction. I tell you what, I can envision when I do that meditation of 5 years from now and I wake up and it's my perfect day. I am not trying to, this, maybe it's a gift. I hope it is. I have no, like, oh, my wife is this and my kids are that. The only thing I'm envisioning on my perfect day is that all of you are happy.
Mm-hmm.
That you're in a good place.
And I think that's the exercise here is it's answering the question, who am I and how do I want to show up without the marriage, right? And that's how you can show up in the marriage. Like, it's literally like you just said, it comes back to you every time. Even like when you talk about like missing a relationship or, you know, people are upset that they broke up. They're not upset about that other person. They're upset about that they don't have that feeling, the way that they felt in that, or those needs are not being met anymore because that person's gone. It's not the other person, right? And so it always comes back to self. And it's like, who am I without this relationship? And how do I want to show up?
So I just had a vision that I'm cooking a filet. I have an apron on. I know exactly how I look. I am so masculine and certain inside of a traditionally feminine role. I'm singing in Italian because I know Italian, right?
Yep.
We are on this ranch retreat type thing, right? And I'm able to pivot from that into the leader coach person that I am, the cowboy part of me, right? And I have this vision of like, it's fully Dave.
Yep.
Someone who met me when I'm 6 years old can be like, I see the same glow, the same smile, the same kindness, the same certainty, the same everything. But I have this like freeness to be like, yeah, this is me now.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to,
Yep.
right? I'm doing these things.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about all the things. I'm driving maybe like a beat up truck or something that you wouldn't put me in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a Toyota Land Cruiser or something. You know what I mean?
I really like this identity.
And that's the key
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for you,
I know.
but because I'm growing, I just watched this and I don't want to go off on tangent, but this women, and I think men too, but it was only about women. Women find men attractive who are reading, learning, growing, following their passions. They're not excited about men who are gaming, talking about their portfolios, crypto, and all this other bullshit.
Right.
And I'm also a guy who feels very comfortable with travel, but it's not like this dominating thing. It's a very inflow travel, right? And so like even my kids, like I'm there for them. This is what we have to do and be like, well, I'm never going to be that guy. I haven't been for 47 years. Why would I be that guy now?
Yep.
And change that identity. And look, my evolution is pulling you in. And then I'm giving you the permission to challenge your identity and be like, wow, well, he's doing that. I'm going to meet him at his positive and I'm going to match that energy. And I'm going to show up as a vixen of this or that, a woman who feels secure being a trad wife, even though you're not a trad wife. Like all of a sudden that happens. And it goes back and forth. It's like this positive loop because I watch you do the horse thing. That has allowed me to come back, go full circle and have this healing experience with my childhood and my parents getting divorced. And it becomes this like escalating and like crescendoing thing where the whole identity can shift.
Yeah. That's how you shape marriages.
And that's how you live soul alive.